Hello and welcome. The Tour of Britain has reached the bottom left-hand corner of the country. We're in Exeter for stage 5. One more big opportunity for any rider who wants to take this race by the scruff of the neck. Yesterday's start was all about two men, Lars Boom, gold as you like, and Geraint Thomas with a nation's hopes on his shoulders. The breakaway featured some familiar names, Philippe Gilbert for one, as well as Jack Bauer and Christian Haus. Sky signalled their intention on the front of the chase, and when it all came back together, it was Steve Cummings who attacked. The pace he set at the front put Mark Cavendish into trouble, only to find John Tiernan Locke, the stronger man, on the brutal final climb. And from there, they swept down into Caerphilly.
Here comes Tor Hushaw, the world champion in the rainbow jersey. He's got enough distance here to claim victory. There's the victory salute.
So Lars Boom heads the general classification, extending his lead by a further 6 seconds to Geraint Thomas in second place. Boy van Poppel is in a podium position as things stand. Ian Bibby up to 4th. Yes, indeed, really hard racing yesterday in South Wales and some damage done to some big names as well, like Mark Cavendish. Wonderful win from Tor Hushaw, but for me, the standout performance in some ways was Lars Boom in the general classification. How strong did he look?
He looked very strong. I mean, he's in a privileged position. He has a gap, and he's now defending it, so he doesn't have to expose himself, but he did look very strong on the climb into the finish.
And he seems sort of fabulously well suited to the demands of the Tour of Britain, doesn't he?
He does appear to be well suited to that kind of 3 to 8 minute efforts, which is very close to a kind of prologue type effort. But again, yeah, he likes this kind of steep climbs, which are shorter than maybe you'd get in the bigger tours.
Yeah. Geraint Thomas, will he be a little bit disappointed with the turn of events yesterday and want to put that right today, do you think?
I think he will be a little bit disappointed. I mean, the Sky obviously had a plan, and to me it looked like they executed it fairly well up until the last climb when he just lacked firepower to make the gap, you know, simple.
Yeah, nonetheless, Geraint Thomas is the highest placed Briton in the general classification, but behind him, a bunch of the domestic boys are really making a name for themselves. Ian, has this already surpassed your ambitions for the Tour? Have you already achieved more than you thought you would?
No, not really. I always knew I could get up there on some stages and stuff, and I'm just happy I've been consistent really in a few stages and not just doing it once like last year and trying to get up there each day and be consistent really.
It's been going pretty well this year, in contrast to last year. Yeah, it's a bit painful on the hill, especially yesterday. I had tunnel vision going up the last climb, I think, but home roads today, lots of climbs. Really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Russell, great ride. You're still feeling as strong as you were a couple of days ago?
Yeah, the legs are still feeling good. Morale's really high, so hoping for some more today.
You know, some good riders in the domestic peloton. I showed yesterday Tiernan Locke and you know, Field's getting up there, and it shows that you know it's good racing back at home, and yeah, we're all doing right.
And riding alongside the bigger names from the Pro Tour teams, does that motivate you? Does it give you a little bit of an extra kick?
It does, yeah, especially when I see I'm stringing it out and, you know, riding past them and stuff. So yeah, that's definitely a bit of extra motivation. Yeah, it's just the sort of underdog syndrome, really. Just keep giving it to them.
Yeah, I think today's going to be a massive day. There's a real hard first 100k. We've pre-rode the course a couple of weeks ago, and it's real tough. Luckily the wind's not so bad, which will make it a bit better. But yeah, there's some big climbs and stuff, so I think today will be a big day for selection.
Yep, there's 3 of the best from the British domestic teams. In particular, Yanto, John Tiernan Locke has been, for my eyes, a revelation in those climbs. He looks like comes completely naturally to him. It's almost effortless. He looks like a pure climber.
I think he is. He's a good friend of mine. You say a revelation, but I've seen him do this almost every Premier calendar so far this year, and it's nice to see that he can do it here at this level as well. It shows that the British scene is very healthy. Like you say, Tiernan Locke and Bibby have been very dominant and have shown that they can do that on an international stage.
Yeah, very strong riding from Ian Bibby. Russell Hampton, though, he leads the King of the Mountains competition, and he's got a healthy lead still.
I like the way Russell Hampton's ridden this race. I think he's done it very smart. He's gone up the road a few times, he's collected points, and it's much easier to defend a jersey than it is to go attack the jersey. Sure. As Tiernan Locke will probably try and find out if he goes for the King of the Mountains to try and get it off Russell Hampton. So yeah, great riding from Russell Hampton, and really doing us all proud here, really. Yeah, interesting competition, the King of the Mountains. Plenty of lumps and bumps and points out on the road today. Let's have a look at stage 5 in a bit more detail.
Stage 5 is located entirely within the boundaries of Devon. It's another tough day in the saddle as the riders battle the winds of Dartmoor and some demanding categorised climbs early on before they loop round and race back towards the coast and the finish line in Exmouth. The beautiful city of Exeter marks the starting point of Stage 5. Situated on the River Ex, it's chock full of character and ancient history. The imposing cathedral dates back to Norman times and is the backdrop to the start of this stage. The surrounding area of Devon, with its sweeping countryside and moorland, will supply a stern test for the riders as the course then heads back to the coastline and the seafront at Exmouth. So the lumpy terrain of the southwest, another really big test for riders with GC pretensions in this year's Tour of Britain. Now, a bit of news broke this morning concerning HTC High Road and their Danish rider Alex Rasmussen. He has had his contract terminated by the team and will take, obviously, no further part in this year's Tour of Britain, having failed to declare missed drug tests on a couple of occasions to his team management. So, one rider less in the peloton at the start here in Exeter. Nevertheless, the race did get underway. Let's join your commentators, Hugh Porter and Brian Smith.
This is the rollout for the start of Stage 5 of the Tour of Britain, Exeter to Exmouth, 112 miles, and there are 3 very hard climbs, and they all come in the first 37 miles. The opening ascent is a first cat affair, and the others are both second category. Well, we can assume that the King of the Mountains competition is really going to ignite today when Jonathan Tiernan-Locke, the local man from Plymouth, will be attacking Russell Hampton. And also it'll be an opportunity to try and get that gold jersey off the race leader, Last Boom. So what can we expect then, Brian?
Well, the stage is in 2 halves. All the climbs come at the start, and after all the climbs there's a couple of bonus sprints, and it's all the way to the finish. So I'm expecting really aggressive racing in the first 30 odd miles of this stage today.
Well, that man doesn't need to take part in any of the sprints, Gilibert, because he's got an advantage of 19 points over his nearest challenger, so he can sit back and have the fresh legs tomorrow. Geraint Thomas still lying second overall. He's got to find a formula to try and outwit Last Boom by 12 seconds to get into the overall lead.
Well, Sky lost out yesterday. They lost a few seconds with Geraint Thomas. I'm pretty sure we'll see them being very, very aggressive. They cannot keep on just riding at the front. They have to get in the breakaways and be aggressive in this stage today. Well,
we just caught a glimpse of the world champion on the far side. Obviously, he is in good form, having won yesterday's stage. And also, we got a shot of Jonathan Tiernan-Locke. Now, these roads are his training roads, and he will be revelling in the action. He's climbing well, and I'm just waiting to see what kind of a performance he's going to post today.
I'm pretty sure he'll be climbing more than well today, being a local lad. But in the left-hand side, that's what he's up against, and that's the King of the Mountains leader at the moment from Sigma Sport, Russell Hampton.
So Russell Hampton, who holds that slender advantage of 7 points over Jonathan Tiernan-Locke, on the front and looking full of racing and out to try and score early points. There are points for the first 10 across the summit of Hayter Rocks when they get there.
Well, Russell Hampton on the left-hand side is on the attack because he is severely worried about John Tiernan-Locke. He knows he's local, he knows he's climbing better than him, so he's trying to get up the road and get into a breakaway and try and steal these points. But Rafa Kondershar shutting that down, but now it's up to Vacansoleil on the attack again. But just look at the pressure at the back of this peloton at the moment. It's all strung out.
Yeah, the long thin line at the back which indicates that the pressure is on, and this is Thomas de Gendt, and Thomas de Gendt is a man who's always full of aggression. He came here a couple of years ago and went with 2 classifications away to Belgium, having won the points and the King of the Mountains, and he's now of course matured into a top professional. So de Gendt, the Belgian, on the attack.
Well, he's been quiet over the first part of this Tour of Britain, but this is what we know him best to do, go on the attack. It was only a couple of years ago he was in every breakaway. Just look at the power of this man at the front for Vacansoleil. So it's Thomas de Gendt at the moment with the slender advantage, just tapping the rhythm out, but he's got more riders coming across to join him. Again, it's Russell Hampton, the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. He's trying hard to get in an early breakaway. He's trying to outwit John Tiernan-Locke. Can't see it really happening because Rafa Kondershar will really try to set things up for John Tiernan-Locke. So we're nearing the first of the Yodel sprints on this
stage, the early kilometres being wiped away, and you can already see they're out of the saddle working hard. Heavy roads down here in Devon, so there will be no respite at all. But it's still Thomas de Gent that's leading, looking to pick up 5 points, but I think he's going to get past here. It's a surprise. It is, because de Gent thought he had got that sprint, but for Dan Lloyd, he's not really interested in the 5 points. He's more interested in the fact that he will get a 3-second bonus, and that 3-second bonus means he will go up into 4th spot overall above Bibby. There's the rest of the riders coming through, so we can confirm the places to you. But it was a valuable 3 seconds for Dan Lloyd. De Gent second, Zabrandi in third, and Hanley had rallied 4th. Welcome back, and the right-hander signals the approach to the foot slopes of Haytor Rocks, the first category ascent that is 6 kilometres long.
Well, surprisingly, all these skirmishes we've seen earlier in the stage, the attacks by Thomas de Gent, Russell Hampton, it's all come back together, and we're on the lower slopes of the first climb now. So
the race now in Dartmoor, and massive crowds are gathering ahead on the climb we are being advised of, and already the tempo very high indeed. Look at this at the back, riders are literally grovelling to stay on the pace.
Yeah, you can just see 4 or 5 of the rally team not really liking this terrain at the moment, but more and more attacks. We've seen Top Sport Flanders, Vacansoleil and Postol in attack. I would really expect Sky to come to the front and try and dominate these 3 climbs.
Well, there are valuable points at stake, of course, on the climb. So this is where the King of the Mountains competition is going to start to unfurl. We've already seen one development in the classification in that first sprint, when the valuable seconds taken by Dan Lloyd has elevated him up the standings. Now then, 3 riders going clear here.
Well, it looked like René Mondre of Endura Racing. Also up there is the Yodel green jersey of Gilibert. On the left-hand side, Bernard Eisel. UHC also joined the party, Rory Sutherland just in the blue and the white at the back. So more and more riders getting involved, but we're still in the lower slopes. It's through the trees and it comes out over the top, very exposed. But watch this man here, Hugh, on the right hand side, John Tiernan Locke making his move now.
He is, but on a climb as long as 6 kilometres, Brian, this is where a lot of damage can be done. And already then the former mountain biker from Plymouth, he's trying to make a hole here, and he has this ability. He jumps away, and then once he's established himself in the lead, he settles down into that very impressive rhythm. Now then, this is Jonathan Tiernan Locke trying to go away and limit the gains of the man that heads him in the competition, and that's Russell Hampton.
Well, Russell Hampton was on the attack earlier on. We've seen that at the top of the programme, but now Tiernan Locke, in the terrain he loves, in his back door, is on the attack and looking very incredible at this moment in time.
And the other thing that we haven't mentioned as well, Brian, about this Rafa Conda Sharp rider, he's actually lying 13th overall in the standings, and he's only 19 seconds behind the overall leader. So he's a serious danger man, and he's 25 seconds clear already.
Well, at this moment, in the back of his mind, all he's thinking about is taking maximum points at the top of this climb, going on and taking more maximum points in the 2 other climbs that comes afterwards. He's just interested at this moment in the King of the Mountains jersey, but over the top of that climb, you'll have to think he's still only 19 seconds down, but 25 seconds in front now makes him the virtual leader on the road as Thomas de Gent from Vacansoleil tries to chase him down.
But Thomas de Gent isn't a threat to the overall lead. He's a few minutes back. But you look at the contrast in styles. The man at the front, here he is, and that's Jonathan Tiernan Locke. He just taps out an easy rhythm, rhythmically pedalling, and yet Thomas de Gent looks laboured. He's having to get out of the saddle to try and inject more pace.
Well, he's a recent stage winner on the Tour de France, and you know, this man at the front, he's shown over the last 3 stages how well he can climb. Look at the gap he's got in De Gent, and as you said, De Gent not coming across very, very quickly at the moment. It just goes to show you the power that John Tiernan Locke from Rafa Conda Sharp has got at the moment.
He's growing in confidence with every stage. His manager is John Herity, the former British Road Champion, and John Herity has a very wise head on his shoulders, and he will have worked out tactically exactly what he wants his man to do. Now then, that bunch is definitely thinning down, but John Tiernan Locke, he's tapping out this rhythm that is giving him a very, very impressive advantage. And on the top of the climb, he's going to pick up 10 points. So it'll be interesting to see where this fella, that is Russell Hampton, who's the current leader, finishes at the top, because I think that he is under severe threat. There's Lars Boom, the overall leader, in 4th position.
Well, he looks okay at the moment. He's coming up to these three riders in front. John Tiernan Lock just pushing well ahead at the front at the moment. Still got about a 25-30 second gap, but Lars Boom is still looking very, very strong at the moment, and you would expect that Sky need to put him under severe pressure to try and rip that IG Markets Gold jersey off his back.
It's thinning down, isn't it, the group? Thinning down as riders just try to get clear off the front, and we've got another little group beginning to form here.
Well, in this small group, you have got the King of the Mountains leader at the moment, just at the back in the white jersey of Russell Hampton, and he's starting to struggle at the moment. Few riders coming up. You've got Bram Tankink coming through for Rabobank, trying to bring this break back, but still on the climb. Still a long way to go to the top of this.
The other man I saw there, I'm sure that was Linus Gerdeman, actually, of the Leopard Trek team. Now, if that was Gerdeman, he's actually 5th in the race overall at 19 seconds. And Gerdeman is a former yellow jersey holder in the Tour de France. So that, here he is, it is Gerdeman, and Gerdeman is trying to go clear. Now, this is a dangerous move.
Well, it is, Hugh. He's only 19 seconds off the overall lead. He's got a NetApp rider on his wheel, Huzarski. He's got Rory Sutherland of United Healthcare. Gabriel Rashaw already in there for Garmin Cervelo, and the King of the Mountains leader. But a strong move by Linus Gerdeman, and the last time he rode the Tour of Britain was way back in 2007.
Well, Sutherland is a little bit further back in the overall standings. He's 37 seconds away from Boom, but that's still a handsome position to be in. But just look at the crowds each side of the road. They've been gathering ever since the early hours this morning. Well, look at this.
Well, I think he's Norwegian, Hugh.
Well, I tell you what, your powers of observation are first class, Brian. Now then, let's get back to the man who's going to pick up the 10 points at the top of the climb. He's been lifted here by the enthusiasm of the crowd. And as I said earlier, he is a local man, and he is totally inspired. He's attacking this here with unbridled passion. He can see the summit ahead, and he knows that 10 points are in the bag.
Well, it's nice to see a UK rider and a British domestic team really going for it at the moment. It comes over the top, and we're going to have to wait and see where Russell Hampton finishes at the top of this climb.
And Russell Hampton will be conscious of the fact that the man we're looking at here has picked up the 10 points. Now then, the rest are coming up towards the top of this climb. Now then, Russell Hampton, he really is going to have to find something if he wants to hang on to this King of the Mountains lead today, because Jonathan Tiernan Lock has got the bit between his teeth already. Here come the rest over the line now. Second there, Thomas de Gent. He, of course, is on the Vacon Soleil squad. And Jonathan Tiernan Lock is oblivious of what's going on behind. He's settling down now to the descent. Gerdeman there coming through in third spot. And then, where is the King of the Mountains, Russell Hampton? Let's wait and see. I think Russell Hampton's going to be down in something like 5th and 6th position. And that means if he is 6th, he's only going to get 5 points. And that means the gap between him and Lock will only be 2. And there are still a couple more ascents to negotiate.
We can just see the rest of the bunch coming over the top of this climb. It's all strung out at the moment. Groups everywhere as we get to the official results now.
Well, there it is then, locked for 10. Yes, Hampton did get 6, so he's got 5. And it now means the gap between the man you're looking at and Hampton is only 2 points. And there are 2 more climbs to go. Well, welcome back, and you're looking here at Tiernan Lock, who's got wings on his wheels today. He's 55 seconds ahead of 3 riders that are trying to get on terms with him. Now, we are nearing the next climb, which is Coffin Stone, and it's a 2nd category ascent, but then the 3rd climb comes immediately after it, so that's going to be pretty tough.
It's difficult for all these riders, these climbs, because they come in succession. You don't really get a lot of time to recuperate between the climbs. It's down the steep descents and then you're hitting them up again. So it's all about control and making sure you've got something left and not really going into the red. But what a magnificent performance this man is doing. Rafa Condor Sharp's Tiernan Lock, 55 seconds and still going for it.
Well, chasing him down is de Gent, Gerdeman and Husarski. Now then, Gerdeman is the big danger here because he started the stage just 19 seconds back from the overall leader, and with the talent that he has and the support from his team of Leopard Trek, if he bridges to the leader Lock and they start to work, this could be a very dangerous move.
Oh, it's definitely dangerous and very difficult to chase. The bunch because of the small roads and the hedges. Very difficult to organise a chase. Situation of the race at the moment, we've got John Tiernan Lock at the front, with 3 riders who you've just mentioned chasing them down, but we've also got a 9-rider group just behind the 3 of Gerdeman.
Excellent racing country, because you're out of sight and out of mind. It's not like those big wide open roads when you try to sustain a lead and the peloton can see you. This is ideal for a little group to form.
Well, you can just see some of the riders at the back putting it into a small chain ring, just pedalling away. These are difficult climbs, short and steep. Not as long as the first one, which was 6 kilometres, but these are very hard hills.
Well, this is a brave display, isn't it, by Locke at the front. He's tamed the opposition and given them the slip, and he's looking to pick more points up here to finally get the lead in this contest.
Well, it's good to see Linus Gerdeman here. He's missed the Tour of Britain in the last few years. Good to see him back, and this man here is doing the ride of the day. We've seen what quality he can do. Go back to Gun Hill and Caerphilly Mountain, and here he's doing it again in his backyard.
The harder the climbs, the better he performs. Now that's Thomas de Gent we're looking at, and he's leading the 3 that are chasing Locke down. So Locke picks up the points at the top, 6 points. Now that gives him the overall lead in the King of the Mountains contest, because the best that the former leader Hampton could get is 5th, because these 3 are going to pick up the next.
Well, we're hearing you over the race radio that the 9 chasers coming up to these 3 in front. It doesn't include Russell Hampton, the King of the Mountains jersey, so it doesn't look as if he's going to even score in this climb.
Now they are coming over the line. Thomas de Gent then over second, and it was Hazarski and then Gerdeman. Now then, these 3 need to start to work consistently together to try and pick up the leader. We're almost on the foot slopes of the final climb. Here it is.
Yeah, a sharp corner there and straight onto it. No time for recovery. In fact, the whole stage is not any flat roads in it at all. Up and down all day. This is the chase group I was talking to you about. We have got 1 Sky Rider, but there's no white jersey in there of Russell Hampton.
No, good spot there. So this could be the defining moment of the stage. It was talked about before. 1 or 2 of the teams actually came down here and had a training camp and rode over the route, and they said, in fact, Matt Stevens of the Sigma Sports Specialized said to me he felt this was the hardest leg, and this is where it could all be decided.
With the gap coming down to John Tiernan Lock is 38 seconds now, so coming back just slightly at the start of the last Skoda Hill Prime of today.
And it looked like Thomas de Gent was struggling a little bit there to stay with the other 2. But there's no problems at all for Locke today. It's been a virtuoso performance by him, and the points he just keeps picking up with ease.
Well, he's just a look of that man, determined to pick up as many points as he can, just looking forward, not interested in what's happening behind him at the moment. He's just looking for maximum points again.
Ever since he took the first climb a couple of stages ago, he's just been brimming over with confidence. And these 3 are, of course, ahead of that chasing group of 9. But if the 3 could get up to Locke, then maybe they can start to work consistently.
But this is a group of 3 strong riders. Gerdeman is a former yellow jersey wearer in the Tour de France. De Gent won a stage this year, finished 4th in the final time trial. Hazarski, good rider, finished up there in the Tour of Turkey. So we can see here magnificent scenery throughout Devon, and this gap coming down ever so slightly.
So this superb countryside, which is providing us with a chess on wheels scenario here, because Locke, remember, is a serious contender for the overall lead. He's only 19 seconds back, and so is Gerdeman. So 2 of the 4, if they link up, are actually putting Lars Boom under severe pressure, the overall race leader. Let's get Locke just over the line, and I'll then go through the points for you. Locke comes over to collect another 6, so he's had a superb day today. He's picked up 22 points so far today. Well, he can't pick up any more because that's the final climb. So he's picked up 22 points in the King of the Mountains contest, and he is now the leader of the Skoda King of the Mountains.
Well, there won't be a sprint going over the top for the 2nd, 3rd and 4th places. These riders are more content and looking for the race overall or the stage win. So great riding by John Tiernan Lock, and his job is over for the day, and he just now has to concentrate in keeping up there for the overall.
Here they are just coming up to the line. I'll just talk you through the rest of the places. It was de Gent from Hazarski, and Gerdeman. Now, these are the chasers, and it'll be interesting to see the composition of this group, Brian, because there's no evidence of the gold jersey being there. So at the moment, Rabobank are on the back foot. They have got one rider there, that is Tanking, who is 11th overall at 19 seconds. But do you think this is the kind of development they are looking for? And what about Sky?
Well, Sky have got one rider in here, it's Michael Rogers, and again, he's 46 seconds off the overall lead, and I'm not too sure that Sky will be happy with this. 9 riders in this chasing group and only 1 from Sky. You do have Bram Tankink in there, 19 seconds down in overall classification. They'll be happy with that.
Well, here's the points confirmed for you, and what it means is that the man that started the day leading, Russell Hampton, who had a 7-point advantage over Locke, is now trailing Locke by 10 points. He's the leader with 54 points. Well, let's hear from Janto Barker, who's in the race control car.
We've seen a very powerful performance by Tin and Locke from Rafa Condor Sharp, who has taken all 3 King of the Mountains, which were in succession, and dominating that stage of the race today. We've now got quite a quick run into Morton Hampstead, which we've been through already, and then we're going to turn left up the Valley Road, which we also came down, and back into Exmouth. So there's a bit of a run in now. We've got 13 riders away, including Tin and Locke, De Gent, and a number of other riders. So hopefully we'll see how the race progresses, as they obviously are going to try and stay away and progress to the finish and to contest the win. So we'll pick it up a little bit later on and see how they've got on.
Well, we're at a critical stage now because we've got ahead Locke, then we've got the 3, then this group trying to get on terms, and the man who's wearing the IG Markets Gold jersey, Lars Boom, is marooned in this group 6 minutes back.
Well, with it going up to 6 minutes, it looks as if Rabobank are happy. They've got 1 man in the break, and that's Tankink, 19 seconds off the overall. So they're happy just to sit at the front and let this gap go up and up.
So it's putting the pressure on others to try and pull those leaders back. But I don't think for a minute that the Team Sky are happy with the development.
No, they've got 1 rider up the road. You've got to remember that there's Tin and Locke at the front, 3 riders chasing, then 9 riders. So you've got 13 riders in front and only 1 Sky there. So I'm pretty sure we'll see something from Sky later on.
Well, the climbs are behind them. Now we can look forward to the approach to the finish.
Welcome back. No more King of the Mountains points out on the road. On the descent off Dartmoor, John, Tin and Locke was caught by a group of 3 chasers, who in turn were joined by 9 others eventually. 13 then getting together the biggest breakaway move of the tour to date and working well through the second sprint at Crediton. Meanwhile, the bunch rattled past Thorverton Primary School, where the kids had strung together a special tribute to the race. But by the final sprint of the day at Rotbeer, 10 of those breakaway riders had eventually sat up, leaving 3 attackers out front: Damien Godin, Alex Wetterall and Topsport Vlaanderen's Preben van Hekke.
Well, approximately 20 kilometres to go, and the former Swedish time trial champion Alex Wetterall struggling there, so it means that we've got Van Hekke and Godin, the 2 leaders.
We're on this slight drag. It drags up for about 5-6 kilometres. A hard drag it is. Godin putting the power down at the moment, and they've dropped a lot of riders from this original breakaway.
So Godin riding for Europcar, and we'll never forget the exploits of Thomas Voeckler in the Tour de France, their leader, who finished 4th overall. So he's trying to emulate the brave feats of Voeckler. Now he's gone clear, but he's got a long way to go, and it's a big ask to try and keep the peloton at bay, because they are now within a minute. And when you think at 1 point, the overall leader, Lars Boom, was trailing by 6.5 minutes on the road, and all of a sudden, Rabobank have got it back together.
Well, just look at the front of the bunch at the moment, and it's HTC High Road with Bernard Iso and Lars Bak riding at the front. I'm wondering if Cavendish and Renshaw are still in this group at the moment, because they must be thinking, bring all these riders back and we have a sprint in Exmouth.
Well, it's an excellent finish down on the front in Exmouth, so it would certainly suit Cavendish. And with Renshaw leading him out, well, it could be stage victory number 2 for Cavendish. But at the moment, the head of the contest is lying in the hands of this Frenchman, Godin.
Well, it's the Irish champion of Matt Brammer pushing on at the front. Looks like Gabriel Rasch is interested there. You've got to remember Thor Hushoff won yesterday. Can he make it the double today?
Well, he's a fast finisher, he's a talent as well, but there we are, it's only 20 seconds now, the window of advantage. So for how much longer is he going to stay clear?
Well, you can look, there's no neutral service behind him or commissaire car. This gap is coming down to at least about 20-25 seconds at the moment, with the other two original breakaways being caught now.
So Van Hecker and Wetterall, we saw Wetterall losing contact, didn't we? He may well be at the back of the peloton, but you can take it from me, there are going to be no charitable handouts today, and all these riders are beginning really now to tee themselves up for the possibility of having a crack at the sprint.
Well, this Tour of Britain is becoming very unpredictable. Who would expected we would see a bunch finish? We've still got to catch this guy in front, Godin, from Europcar, but it looks as if it's going to be a bunch finish in Exmouth, and who would have thought that at the start of today's stage?
Well, you wouldn't. I mean, the pattern of the race, it's been embroidered, hasn't it, with changes, riders clipping off, and of course the big story today is all about Tiernan Locke sealing the overall lead in the King of the Mountains. But now we're wondering who is going to win this stage here into Exmouth. There are a lot of sprinters still in the group, and I don't think this fella's going to stay out front much longer.
No, you can see he's had a hard ride already. 18 seconds is still hanging in there. Gabriel Rasch still riding at the front for Garmin Cervelo, but he's got three riders from HTC High Road just behind, and some of the Ann Post Grant Thornton team coming up on the right hand side, thinking of the young Scottish sprinter Andrew Fenn.
Well, when you think back over the sprints, I mean, when Linus Gerdeman at Crediton got second in the Yodel sprint competition, picking up that 2 seconds, he was actually the virtual race leader on the road. But of course, all that's history now. It's just gone away, and they're all back together.
Well, this Tour of Britain has really come down to seconds at the moment, and you wouldn't put past Lars Boom maybe taking a few bonus seconds when it comes to the sprint finish on the promenade in Exmouth.
Well, Godin, you'd think really they would allow him to slip away, because he's 16 minutes behind the overall leader, down in 87th position, so he's riding for the glory, isn't he? Here, trying to cover himself in glory. He's not going to affect the overall standings, and if he does stay clear, it means that he's taking the 10-second bonus, so he takes the pressure off the others.
Yeah, but a lot of these riders in the bunch want to win, and a stage win in the Tour of Britain is quite up there in the rankings, and with 18 seconds he's going to have a very difficult ride all the way into Exmouth. And I'm pretty sure, if as I just mentioned before, if Cav, Renshaw, Hushoff and these guys are in this bunch, which it looks as if they are, with the HTC High Road and Garmin Cervelo riding hard at the front, then it's going to come down to a sprint in the finish.
Well, he's given his all. He really is motoring at the front, and he's not going to surrender the advantage. He's got the bit between his teeth. But you are right, Brian. We've got the evidence here then of the HTC High Road boys right on the sharp end of that big field, and that means they're obviously trying to set it up for their sprinters.
You can just see the bunch in the background now. He's within sight, looking back now. He knows his days are numbered, and it's going to be very difficult for him now to continue all the way to the finish. Looks as if we're inside the last 10 kilometres now. What an effort this man from Europcar. We haven't seen a lot of him in this race, but a great effort by Godin.
It's a 5-star performance by him, but it's not going to be for much longer. I feel that his efforts are in vain, as the field are beginning to really start to put their foot on the pedal.
Yeah, it's still the HTC High Road at the front with the Garmin Cervelo. Just on the outside you can see some of the Motor Point riders coming up, thinking of Ian Bibby, who has got 2 top 10 performances in the last 2 stages.
Yeah, Bibby's been performing well, and Geraint Thomas has been knocking on the door. This would be a stage where Thomas, well, could hope to try and pick up a bonus in the finishing sprint and narrow the gap on Boom.
Well, you've got Lars Bak and Mark Bramier of HTC High Road at the front, followed by Garmin Cervelo. And just look at the person sitting in 6th place, yesterday's winner, the world champion Thor Hushoff.
Well, Hushoff licking his lips at the thought of another stage victory. Obviously indicates that his form is good for the forthcoming World Championships in Denmark. Now then, how much longer is he going to stay out ahead here of this field?
Well, it's a very fast finish of this stage today, Hugh. It's about 5 kilometres, pretty much all downhill, so it's going to be very rapid, and it's going to get all about positioning at the last corner onto the seafront.
Well, out of the saddle and trying to inject a little more pace. He's absolutely determined to try and hang on to this advantage.
It's going to be very difficult, we've been saying this, but he's still out there, he's still hanging out there with about a 20-second advantage.
Well, the bunch hasn't lined out in single formation yet, so the full maximum pressure has not been applied as they go under the trees. And once you see that formation, the long thin line, you'll know that they're totally committed.
maybe the green jersey of the Eurocar jersey is blending in with the shrubbery at the side of the road, and he's out of sight, out of mind. But with only 8 seconds, they're going to see him.
It's a brave effort though by the Frenchman. Out of every corner, look at this. He gets out of the saddle and tries to heave that gear over, but the chasers are now pouring down on him.
Yeah, not only are they the chasers, it looks like we'll get the full complement of the bunch here, barring maybe one or two. So again, it's going to be a mass finish in the seafront of Exmouth.
And I can tell you that there is a massive crowd waiting for the arrival of the riders as we are now inside the concluding 5 kilometres. So around 3 miles of racing left.
Well, he's still hanging out there, but with 2 Pro Tour teams of HTC High Road and Garmin Cervelo pushing hard at the front for their leaders, it looks as if he's going to be brought back very soon.
Beautiful panoramic view there, and ahead the estuary of the River Ex, and our aerial shot shows you just what the advantage is, and it's coming down with every pedal rev. Now the thin line is beginning to form.
Yeah, more teams coming up to the front. You see NetApp is there, Leopard Trek, and more of the green jersey of the Ant Posh Grant Thornton team.
Well, he's gulping in the air, look at that, as he grips those brake levers and tries somehow or other to find a little more pace, but those legs are beginning to hurt big time.
Well, he stayed out there. He was the original part of that 13-man group, and hats off to him. He stayed out there inside the last 5 kilometres. I'm pretty sure the winner is going to come from this massive bunch.
And let's not forget, they've got 110 miles in their legs now as they come up to the 4-kilometre marker.
Yeah, more movement to the back as the more riders try to come up to the front. The 2 Pro Tour teams of High Road and Garmin Cervelo trying to keep control of the front and stop attacking. This is where Sky have maybe matched out here. They have got Gerrit Thomas, and he has to try and steal some bonus seconds.
And he sat up there, so he's given up. He knows that he cannot stay ahead any longer. So it's status quo. The whole field are back together and getting themselves organised for the sprint. Well, Dumfries, it was Mark Cavendish. Hanley and Stoke, it was Lars Boom. And yesterday in Caerphilly, it was Tuur Hushoff. Who's he going to be today then in Exmouth? There is Roger Hammond, second wheel.
Well, it's Gabriel Rasch, the Norwegian rider, in first place at the moment, Roger Hammond, and just closely behind you've got the 2 sprinters of Mark Cavendish and Tuur Hushoff.
So Roger Hammond, there he is, man who finished third in Paris-Roubaix and a former junior world cyclo-cross champion. He can sprint a bit himself, you know, Brian, and he's had stage victories in the Tour of Britain.
Yeah, looks as if he might be the one leading out Tuur Hushoff. You can see Garmin Cervelo, still Rasch, Hammond, Lars Bak is in there, a couple of black jerseys looking after Zach Dempster of Rafa Condor Sharp.
And of course there's another line beginning to come down the outside, and this is the line of Ant Posh.
And for me, the team of the race so far has to be this Ant Posh team. They've never missed a breakaway until today, but what they're trying to do is finish it off with a stage win.
And of course they've got Andrew Fenn sitting about 5 back. And Andrew Fenn is a former British under-23 road race champion, and he's been consistent already throughout this Tour of Britain, and he can mix it with the best. It really is becoming very interesting. The ingredients are getting spicy, ready for this conclusion here in Exmouth.
No, this is great to see, mixing it with the Pro Tour teams. And Posh right up there on the right hand side. You've got Leopard Trek coming up. You can just see the orange jerseys of Motorpoint. Everybody wants a piece of the action.
And also in there was Pieter Gilibert, who is the leader of the Yodel sprint competition. He's about 4th back, but as we look down now, evidence of the HTC High Road boys is beginning to show.
Some of the other teams tried to gain control of the front of the bunch. They weren't able to do that, and now it's Roger Hammonds of Garmin Cervelo taking control of the bunch with Lars Bak in second place for HTC High Road.
So the 2 strong teams have now established themselves right at the front here now. So we can only expect to see the side soon of Mark Cavendish. In fact, we just caught a glimpse of him. He's about 5 back, Cavendish. Now then, is Renshaw going to leave him out?
Well, at the front of the bunch, you've still got the riders from HTC High Road pushing hard at the front. But just look at here on the right-hand side, the green jerseys of Van Posh pushing hard, never say die.
And also Garmin Cervelo are trying to get Tuur Hushoff right through as well. Khrushchev is up there. I think it's third spot now, the world champion, the white jersey with the rainbow bands. And there's one or two riders in the blue jerseys trying to force their way to the front, and they're obviously going to look after their sprinter, Robert Forster, under the pennant. 1 kilometre to go.
Yeah, it's a big fight at the moment inside the last kilometre. Again, the green jersey of Van Post coming to the front, but the blue jerseys on the right-hand side is United Healthcare, look after Robert Forster.
Well, they're all in the mix, aren't they, here? And I just also saw Zach Dempster in the black for Rafa Conde-Sharp, the Aussie. He's also a quick finisher, getting near to the right-hander, which will line them up for the run along the seafront. Here it is. Now then, right on the front, it looks like a change here. One of the riders from HTC High Road. Now then, was that Renshaw?
It was Renshaw, Hugh, and Mark Cavendish had let him go.
Well, he's giving Renshaw the opportunity to take the stage victory here in Exmouth. So Cavendish, who always enjoys the lead out from Renshaw, is holding the bunch at bay. And the Australian, here he comes. Renshaw takes it on the line. Cavendish second, and they both give the victory salute. And in third spot, it was Forster of United Healthcare. Here come the rest of the field over the line. But amazing, really, with the stage as hard as that, and it ended up in a bunch sprint.
And what a magnificent gift that was by Mark Cavendish. And you normally see this in the Champs-Élysées, but we're seeing it here in Exmouth.
And you can just see Geraint Thomas coming through there into fourth spot, so that means he's just missed out on getting a time bonus. But that's been a compelling day's racing, and the overall situations will not change.
You could be forgiven for a double take. The Cavendish-Renshaw 1-2, but in reverse. From the Champs-Élysées to Exmouth, it's one of cycling's great spectacles. Good rides from Andy Fenn and Geraint Thomas to finish in 5th and 4th respectively, as well as Robert Forster in 3rd. Mark Cavendish, unaccustomed perhaps to finishing 2nd, but he will have been happy to defer to Mark Renshaw, the man with a point to prove.
I've devoted my career so far to other guys, Matt Goss, one of them, and Mark Cavendish, so there's no gesture. It's we'll see what happens at the world titles. They've taken a very strong team. But for me personally, to be once again left at home, I'm not sure what I have to do. I can win as many stages as I want here. It's still not going to take me to Denmark. But next year, it's given me motivation. I make a change to Rabobank. I'm just going to come out firing. 2 under is a big objective. If I put the runs on the board, then I can't see how they can once again leave me at home.
It's maybe the last time Renshaw will take a win in HTC High Road colours. He's been part of cycling history, and next year he'll be riding for himself. Geraint Thomas had a better day, sprinting hard for a time bonus on the line and only just missing out. He retains the prostate cancer charity points jersey. Peter Gilbert still leads the Yodel Sprints competition by an almost unassailable 20 points from Russell Hampton. But Hampton had to cede control of the Skoda King of the Mountains competition. John Tiernan Locke, the local hero, taking the polka dot jersey.
I was a bit nervous the group was going to go away, take the points off the climbs, but everyone was so so eager to race. It stayed together, and just couldn't have turned out better.
Not much has moved in the overall standings. Geraint Thomas still locked out at 12 seconds to Lars Boom, who finished in the main bunch at the same time. The main mover on the day, Garmin Cervelo's Dan Lloyd, picking up 3 very useful seconds at the first sprint of the day and moving himself up 2 places to 4th in the process. So no bust for Boom today though. The man with the IG Markets gold jersey, still the one that they all have to crack. A 3rd day in the race lead for him. Well, out on that very lumpy terrain in Devon, the predicted fireworks in the general classification might have stayed away, but nonetheless a very interesting stage and some very memorable individual performances as well, not least from John Tiernan Locke.
Absolutely. For those of us that have raced in the UK this season, we've seen him do that almost every week, and it's just nice to see him basically take a minute out of some of the best riders in the world and show what he can do. Nice to see us get a prediction right as well. We talked about him at the beginning of the show. But Dan Lloyd, some clever moves from him as well today. Absolutely. Dan Lloyd, I saw him, I was in a car this stage, and I saw him come up and take some seconds. And obviously very cleverly, then he sat straight up and he's basically ridden around quite carefully the rest of the stage. Popped himself up into 4th place in the general classification. Geraint Thomas finished 4th on the stage, which is a much better showing from him. Yeah, clearly probably got better legs than yesterday, and ridden quite a sensible race, I think, along with the race leader today. Very hard first 50 kilometres. I mean, lots of mountains and very twisty. It was very small and narrow roads. So he's taken care and arrived in good condition and have been able to just miss out, unfortunately, on some seconds on the line.
Yeah, but many more things to come, I suspect, from Geraint Thomas. The memory that I think most people here in Exmouth will take away is the sight of the 2 marks in HTC High Road colours. Possibly the last time we'll see that, a 1-2 in a sprint.
Yeah, I mean, they timed it perfectly. You had the Europe car rider Gaudan, who was in the break all day and impressively, you know, trying to stay away till about 5 kilometres to go. I think it was 3.5 he got caught. And then, as you say, crossing the line, the pair, the double duo, first and second, this time with Renshaw first, and a great result and fantastic to see. Obviously, the last few times we're going to see that.
Memorable indeed. OK, things are hotting up, quite literally. Tomorrow, we go from Taunton to Wells at stage 6, and our show is back at its usual time of 8 o'clock. See you then.